Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Mindful Muscle Podcast with my fabulous co-host. How are you today, Jodi?
I'm great. If you're new here, welcome. Gio and I are two individuals who individually went on our own health and wellness journeys and collectively have lost and maintained 140-pound weight loss. And we're a podcast for anybody on their health and wellness journey, but we especially want to help beginners, those who are stepping foot onto their journey for the first time, to show them that it is possible and we are worth the effort.
Our guest today, Sean Willers. He's a former military, ex-DJ, and once caught in a cycle of drinking and drugs. Now he's a fitness professional and a lifestyle coach who's founded Willers Fitness to help ambitious men break free from self-destructive habits. Sean, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you.
Look, getting out of drugs and that cycle of destruction is hard. Tell us the backstory of how you got into that cycle first before we talk about how you got out of it.
Okay, how far do we go back here? My cycle with alcohol was from a very early age, maybe 14, 15, quite a common age for people to start drinking in the UK. But I never had a real good relationship from it. Neither did my mom. I wasn't the best behaved kid. Went through this period of my life when I was like 14, 15, 16, no idea what I wanted to do, no idea who I was. And drinking was just a very easy escape from that. And that sort of carried on until I was 18, until I found fitness for the first time. It was actually through Thai boxing was the first thing that I did. I went to a Thai boxing gym. I still had this problem with drinking. I was a bad drunk, basically. I was that person that you'd probably avoid. Then I found my fitness, trained as a personal trainer, and the military was calling me as well for some time. My dad was in the military and I wanted to serve my country. So 20 years old, I joined the military, did 4 years, served in Afghanistan in 2010, come out. And I was very set on the fitness being my life at this point, and I knew I was going to go back into personal training, but there were certain things that kept pulling me back into this almost chaos with drinking. And then I started to go out after leaving the military and use cocaine at the weekends as well.
Mercy.
Yes. And then after maybe a year of being out, my partying started to become more and more, my fitness less and less. I'm a big hip hop fan at heart. That was my passion when I was younger. But then I found electronic music quite late in my life, maybe like 24, 25. We started going to after parties, and me and my brother have always been really close, my younger brother. We went to an after party and we had to go on some CDJs they were. And we was like, oh, this is fun. Maybe we could get into this. It was also an excuse to party longer. I got the itch for the party. This was the start of a long addiction with cocaine. We got a very lucky break in London at a big club. I left my fitness behind. That was it. For me, that's all I wanted to do.
The party life, DJ, women.
Party life. That was calling me. It went very well. We were very lucky. We got a residency at a huge club here in London. And we started to get recognised elsewhere. We started to play a few gigs internationally. And at this point, we were playing every weekend continually. But for me and my brother, there was always an after party. So you play once, you'd have an after party, you'd recover a couple of days and repeat that cycle. I remember a couple of years into London, my fitness routine was going and sitting on the bike at the gym for 20 minutes. And that would be it for the week. Yeah, that was it. So I'd gone from no structure, no routine as a kid, problems with alcohol, found fitness, loved it, went into the military, super disciplined, and come out and then been thrown into a world of creativity with no boundaries at all.
I'd call it hedonism.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to juice up.
What was rock bottom? What was the point where things had to change?
So after moving to London, we moved to Berlin. Now, that was a huge move for us in my career, but I don't know how much you know about the scene in Berlin or if anyone has been there, especially any listeners, but it is renowned for being the party capital of Europe. And someone who's
Wow.
already struggling with...
I grew up in New York City.
There we go, yeah. So the place is open on Thursday and close on Monday. We were playing a lot, and what happened is that the drug use got more and more, got really into that cycle, and I found myself falling out of agents, falling out with friends, losing my creativity. After a gig in 2021, I ended up in hospital. At this point, I knew I had a problem, but it was almost impossible for me to make that change. I woke up in hospital, I had a black eye, and there was blood everywhere, and I was in bits. And I decided then at that point that it was time to leave the career behind that was no longer serving me, which was a hard pill to swallow because I'd been working to get to that point for the best part of 10 years. But it was either that or I was going to end up in an early grave. So that was my rock bottom moment. I left, was back in the UK, and found myself in a position that I hadn't been in for a very long time. And that was not knowing what my purpose was anymore, not really having any direction for who I was or what I wanted to be.
What made you get back into fitness?
What had happened is that I knew I had to make some changes in my life. I was overweight at this point. I was overweight, I had health problems going on, a lot of anxiety. I knew the feeling I had from when I first entered that Thai boxing gym when I was a kid, when I was lost at that point, had no idea what I wanted to do or be. That feeling of sweating and getting out of breath, that connection with being present was a big one. And I didn't really know what to do, and I started to run at the first part because I didn't have any money for the gym. Now, I'd never been a keen runner.
Amen.
But being in the military for 4 years, you have no choice but to run. So I knew I could do it, and I started running just a little bit. I remember the first run I went for, maybe 1 kilometer. I thought, I'm never going to be able to do this. This isn't for me anymore. But I just stuck at it. I didn't really have any other option, and I stuck at it, and it grew from there. I reconnected with my passion again. That was the instigator for me. But it wasn't just running. It was also intermittent fasting for me. Because I've been so out of control for so long. When you're going through an addiction, a lot of people say that it's not your fault or it's the drug's fault. Always trying to pass responsibility and pass the blame and not really be in control of the actions that I was doing. And a friend told me about intermittent fasting, which I had no idea about. I'd never really heard about that when I was younger. It wasn't really about. And he taught me through this app called Fastic. And he's like, look, just give it a go. And I started to read into it. I found on Spotify a guy called Dr. Stephen Cabral. He's a health practitioner based in the States, but he did his medical training in India. And he talked about intermittent fasting. I really got into it. So I started fasting, and I was doing the classic 16-8. That discipline and control reconnected again. And that combined with the running, all of a sudden I was like, okay, this is what I've been missing for so long. And when it came
to the drugs, did you go cold turkey or did you get professional help?
Great question. When I knew I had a problem for so long with drugs, I tried Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, therapy, even non-alcoholic drinks. It always led me back into the same predicament, which was me making the wrong choices at the end of the day. And I think there's always some misunderstanding about addiction. Addiction doesn't have to mean you're physically dependent. For me, it was the mental addiction. It was the constant feeling of high and then low. And I tried that for so long and none of that worked. When I started training again and running, started intermittent fasting, started seeing my body change, I finally found a bit of purpose again. And it was almost like I had self-belief again in my abilities to change. And I think that was the key thing for me. And the problem that I found with everything else that I tried before, there was almost no end goal to it, or there was no
purpose.
But when I started to train again, you start to see my runs getting faster. I start to see, one of my top abs coming through again. I was like, oh my days, wow. Yeah, but that really pushed me on. And I take it you're not a keen runner. You didn't seem too keen on it then. But Jodi, are you a runner?
I will do it if I have to. I'm a girl that likes the barbell more than cardio or anything else.
And I prefer the spin bike over running. Yeah.
Running, okay. For me, it was the sense of just like presence with running. I got the classic, you hear it all the time, the runner's high. I was becoming one of them guys, but when you've been high on cocaine for so long, getting high from anything else that made me feel good was like, okay, wow. And that was it then. That just sparked my whole love for fitness. I started using my fitness pal again that I hadn't logged into since 2015 or something. 14.
Okay, so now you've made the transition. You've left that world behind. You're back into fitness. You're running. How much weight did you lose? What role did weightlifting play? And what was the time difference between you rediscovering and then you saying, look, I have a purpose to help others?
So it wasn't a massive amount of weight for me, maybe 10 kilos or something like this. But it was more my shape had started to change. Before I was very thin on the top, very heavy at the bottom. And then when I started to run and see the changes, I went back to the gym as well, especially when I started to work. I had the money. I used to be always in the gym when I was younger. I went through a period of doing a lot of CrossFit when I was in the military. Like I remember when we was in Afghanistan. This was before CrossFit was huge, before Reebok took it over. There was gyms on Kandahar and Helmand there that were like the Canadians and Americans. You had the CrossFit gyms over in there.
That's what I do.
CrossFitter.
I love CrossFit. I just remember that time of training when I was at my peak fitness in my early 20s in the military, training CrossFit all the time. And this is before anyone had really discovered it as well. So it was just super exciting. But I still follow CrossFit a lot. I still have a lot of friends. In fact, I was recently in India with one of my clients who was 2 times CrossFit athlete and the fittest man in India. I got to train with him, Vedarth. He's CrossFit, follow him on Instagram. It was quite a cool experience to be able to train with him. And his record muscle-ups was 38 muscle-ups or something. And I was like,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mercy. Impressive.
I went back to the gym and I just started with very conventional bodybuilding again. Push, pull, leg split. And that's still a big part of what I do. I was throwing myself into anything really. Maybe some HIIT stuff, running, got really good. I managed to get a sub 130 half marathon in Ibiza, which was special to me because it was an island that I'd only ever partied at and then been able to run the race there as well, which was great. And so it wasn't so much the weight, it was more just seeing my body change again.
Yes, the transformation. Jodi and I were talking, and one of those things we mentioned is that you could be 170 and flabby and 170 and rip. So the weight really doesn't matter. It's the transformation of the body. And so you seem to have experienced that.
Absolutely.
Never.
Absolutely.
You went from almost ODing to having this new outlook on life. That's a monumental transformation. I know you said it was only 10 kilos, but that is significant on its own. The mindset shift from almost getting to a situation where you would be in an early grave to falling in love with something that's good for you.
Absolutely. I think that's it exactly, Jodi. This is what I love about fitness and training, what it brings to your mental capacity and your mindset. Looking great is great. Everyone wants to look great, but that only comes through consistency and discipline. And consistency and discipline is a mindset at the end of the day. I think we look at all these people in incredible shape, but they only look like that because they've got an incredible mindset. For me, was the biggest thing about reconnecting with fitness as well is just how much it changed my mindset from years of playing this victim mentality. I'm stuck in a cycle to just taking responsibility for my actions and seeing direct positive results from that was huge. And I'm really happy that I took this sort of CrossFit approach as well. I was running, I was weightlifting, I was just happy to be living again, feeling good and waking up, feeling good and positive. So in 2021, July, when I ended up in hospital, I had a presence on Instagram, nothing massive, but we had a following for our DJing, the Willers brothers. I started to document my journey through leaving the industry back into training. And the first job I got was as a PE teacher. I'd just come out of this 10-year career and I didn't know what to do, but I knew I wanted to do something fitness because that's what my old qualifications were. And I found this passion for it, but I knew I wasn't ready to go back as a PT because I still had a lot of self-development and work to do myself. So I got a job as a PE teacher, which was strange. I wasn't really qualified for the job, but the head coach, he was ex-military. And if you're ex-military, it's a bond. He was like, look, you're not really qualified, but I like you. Why don't you come and take a lesson and see? And bearing in mind, I've just been a drug-addicted DJ for 10 years, so that was quite a transition for my first job back.
Know what I mean?
A lot of trust, but I did the lesson. I loved it. I was just like, wow, this is incredible. And I spent a year doing that. My training was getting better. I started to really transform my body. And I was documenting this journey on Instagram. And me and my brother, we were known for being the party guys. If we were DJing at the club, it was party time and everyone knew that. So when they'd seen this incredible transformation that me, and then my brother as well, because this is what I didn't mention, my brother he was really, like, we DJed together. He had an incredible transformation. So he lost like 50 kilos. He would be great. You talk to him next time. He went from 145 kilos to 90 kg. He ran the London Marathon last year. He's had this incredible transformation because he had seen my journey, and then he started his own journey. But anyway, we were known for partying, and when I started to document my journey, people started to reach out for me. Other DJs started to reach out to me, and they were like, "Look, how are you doing this?" So I just started to give them bits of advice. But at the time, I didn't know about online coaching because I come from the floor as a PT, and I hadn't done it for so long. I hadn't looked at anything in the fitness industry for so long. I didn't realize there was this online coaching
presence.
Platform. And so I started to train and coach, guide a few friends, and a few more people reached out to me. And then I had a friend who was based in Ibiza who had a really big following, and he was like, "Look, I love what you're doing. If you come and train me up for 90 days, help me quit drinking drugs, get in good shape, I'll document it." And that's what I did. I was split between my job as a PE teacher, which was going really well. I got promoted to head of PE. But you've got to imagine, I've come from the bottom, absolute rock bottom. I was so positive. I had so much energy. I was just doing as much as I could all the time. And Kai, really good friend of mine, now had this incredible transformation through the program, and after that I just had so many people reach out to me, and I realized that this is a platform where I could help so many people who've been in my position. And the thing is as well is that especially from what I've seen, there's not a lot of people who have come from a fitness and military background to then becoming a professional DJ, hitting rock bottom and then going back into the fitness industry. So I had a really strong niche as well, and I really understood what it's like to be on both ends. I'm sure you guys know from your own journeys and speaking with so many other people, relatability was something that I was trying to transform. Speaking to a therapist works for so many people, but for me, I just never felt that they understood my journey. Sitting in a room, in Alcoholics Anonymous was great, but I didn't feel that they understood my journey. And what I realized was starting to connect with these people who wanted to make change, who were inspired from what I had done, from what my brother was doing, to help them with it. And also it was nice because it still gave me that little connection with the music industry that I was so worried to lose. I was almost losing my identity. That's
jump in here. So your Willers Fitness, is that primarily online, and is it just focused on the physical to help the mental, or do you help people who just looking to overcome the addiction?
So it's developed over the past couple of years, Willers Fitness. When I first started, it was just to help DJs find balance. That was the idea. Help them with the training, with the nutrition, and helping them with purpose as well, outside of just that career in music. But what I started to find is that the more I talked about my journey with cocaine, so many people started to reach out to me. Not even really involved in music, just guys who had gone through that similar journey as myself, where they'd tried AA therapy and been stuck. And what I realized is that fitness is a way, it's not the only way for sure, but it is a way that can help you overcome some drink and drug problems for the reason that it gives you purpose, it gives you feeling, it gives you a direct positive response to the actions that you are doing. Then we started to work with more people from a broader spectrum, and it's always been online. We do sometimes some in-person meetups with people who are based in London, but there was a point in the journey when we were in 17 different countries. We were working with people in Uganda, to New York, to Japan, to South America, Costa Rica, Australia, all over the world. The thing is, all these people had exactly the same problems, and they'd gone through very similar things as my journey. It's grown from there. The idea of Willis Fitness was to help people take back control of their lives, and doing that through fitness-based goals. And that fitness-based goals will help you to build the discipline that it takes to have the control, to be able to say yes or no to the things that are serving you in your life, to help you move forward and give people purpose again. And yeah.
What would you say is the number one factor you see in people who were in your situation, addicted to drugs, that lets you know, okay, this person's going to stick it out, or that this person's just fooling themselves at the moment?
Good question. That's funny, because me and my brother were talking about this today. As a fitness professional, you can sometimes see a client who's going to come in, they haven't really got what it takes with the transformation. With drug and alcohol, especially cocaine, it's not that black and white, because it can just be a little switch in their head. When we have them on an onboarding call, I don't think this guy's got what it takes, and they end up turning around and completely transforming. On the flip side, sometimes I've had this person is the ideal person for us right now, and they've come in for a couple of weeks or months, and they've just not been able to stick it out. But I think the one factor for anyone looking to change, and you guys have been through a weight loss journey, so you'll know this yourselves, you've got to really want it. That's why it took me so long in my own journey. I didn't really want to make the one change that I needed to make everything else change. And that was leave behind a career that was throwing me back into that cycle all the time. That was the one change that I needed to change everything else around my life, to move forward. And I think that's where a lot of people fall flat, is that they want to change because it's a Tuesday. They might have overeaten at the weekend or had too many drinks. But when it comes to Friday, they haven't really got the drive to continue that on. And
I joke around with Jodi all the time that if I can bottle that desire of want to, nothing's going to stop me. We'd be sipping virgin pina coladas in some island with our family.
We would be doing this interview in person with you. Are you able to share some success stories? It sounds like your brother's doing amazing. Do you have any other success stories from clients you've worked with?
Yeah, so many. For me, I think that my brother works with me now, which is cool. In the business. So we've flipped the whole thing around. But I think it's hard to pinpoint one transformation for me, because they've all got their own incredible, unique stories. We've had people like Neil, who's been with us for a long time now, who was running multiple businesses, kept getting stuck into that cycle. He's got 3 adopted daughters, 2 dogs, 2 cats, a wife, 3 businesses, and was still able to turn all of that around and leave his alcohol behind whilst transforming his body and still juggling everything else. And for me, I think Neil's one always stands out for me, because I've never met someone so busy. And I think that the age-old excuse for change is I'm too busy. I can't do it. I'm too busy. And I always just think now to someone like Neil and think, you're not too busy. You've just got to really want it, and you will make time for it.
Jodi's favorite question is, did you get so lucky to work out?
I've gotten that so many times. And
one of my favorite part of
I
Jodi's,
wanted enough.
is Jodi used to wake up at 3 a.m. to go to the gym.
See, there we go. Exactly. No
Yeah.
one's too busy
Yeah.
for change. You just got to really want it. And I think it's very easy in this day and age to play that victim mentality. And one thing that I've had the privilege to work with so many people and travel so many places is that there's always someone who's worse off, more busy, or in a worse position than yourself. And I think playing that victim mentality is the easy route out for the hard work that you've got to do to make that change.
You know, you had issues with cocaine. You mentioned this client you helped was issues with alcohol. What would you say is the number one thing people deal with? Is it hard drugs? Is it alcohol? Or other things?
Yeah, I think alcohol is an instigator for a lot of things. I'm sober now. Since I've not drunk alcohol, I've not done cocaine. I would have 2 drinks knowing that I would use cocaine, but I'd never do cocaine and then drink. I'd almost drink to use cocaine. It's what I find with a lot of people. It's like you go out, they have 1 or 2 drinks and then lose all inhibition to do anything positive in their life. I think the biggest one is alcohol. Alcohol is just so socially acceptable
Yes.
in modern day
Sad.
society. It's really sad. But I always think, me and my brother always talk about this. You know what I find funny though is that in CrossFit, in bodybuilding, like you see these guys doing these shows. Just watch the Arnolds recently, and no one talks about being 3 years sober there. Oh, I'm 1 year. No one drinks. Do you know what I mean? Because you just wouldn't. Why would you want to put that poison in your body? But outside of being an athlete or fitness, alcohol is pushed in front of you all the time. And I think this is where a lot of people struggle, is that a lot of their friendships, a lot of their social gatherings, a lot of their weekends is surrounded by alcohol. If you're going to stop drinking, you need to fill that void. This is why I think fitness is such a great tool to plug that void, because if you staying in on a Friday, okay, just to stay sober, that's a bit pointless. But if you've got a 10-miler planned, or your CrossFit class planned, or you're going to hit the gym with your friends on Saturday morning, and you've got a goal that you're working towards that's fitness based, then staying in at the weekend and being happy about it makes that a lot easier than just staying in because you've got a drink problem. That's a bit depressing.
Yeah. I never grew up drinking alcohol. I tried it for 1 year. Grew up in New York City and I was into the clubbing scene. The number one reason I saw for men to drink alcohol is to get liquid courage to approach a woman. And I was like, man, that's pathetic. I don't need that to approach a woman. What's the worst she can do? Slap you? And so it's sad because Jodi no longer drinks. A couple of friends that we have on our fitness community who are very fit as well don't drink. It's about the discipline. It's about knowing that those calories are empty and it's not good for you long term. It's interesting that you mentioned that one is so socially acceptable. I used to be a volunteer police chaplain on a major college campus, Texas A&M, and 90+% of the sexual assaults are alcohol related. And yet we tolerate this stuff because it's good business.
Cool. This is it, the business side of it, absolutely. But I like what you said there about the confidence, because that's another reason why, especially, so I'm trying to get in the screen, a lot of men also struggle. I'm sure it's the same with females as well. But if you've drunk for so many years, losing that alcohol, I'm going to say for myself, a big fear that I had was, how am I ever going to be comfortable in any situation ever again, let alone speak to females when you've been so used to using that as a crutch. But again, this is where fitness comes in, because if you're looking and feeling fantastic, then you don't need anything else to boost your confidence, because you're about as confident as you're going to get with you being the best version of yourself. Yeah. But that's a process. It's work that has to be done as well.
Yeah. I find that most of my friends that don't drink are into fitness. So to me, that's another reason to lean towards the fitness or gym or CrossFit community, because you won't be foreign to them if you choose not to drink. Versus I used to hear guff like, why aren't you drinking? And I think people who do drink assume because you choose not to that you're judging them. This is just based off of how it makes me feel. It makes me feel lousy. It doesn't mean that I think any less of you, as long as you're not ruining my good time. I don't care what you do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I'm also had a big shift in the people that I was spending a lot of time with, because for years I was around the music industry. Even though I am still to some degree, you do have to see that if people you're spending time with are not aligned with who you want to be, and all you do is drink with them, is that the person that you want to be? And again, this is the great thing with all the CrossFit, especially CrossFit gyms, and now High Rocks is a social places where people who maybe are a bit lost, or maybe at that age where finding a friend is not as easy as when you're younger, going to these clubs, these fitness clubs, run clubs, CrossFit, High Rocks is a good space to meet people that are going to be more aligned with who you want to be and who you want to become.
There's a lot of bonding with dying on the floor after a workout together.
CrossFit. That's how Jodi and I met. We met online in a Fitbot community, and the group got tight for a while. We planned a retreat to Arizona, and that's where we physically met with some other people from our group. That bond of like-minded people can spur you on and keep you on the straight and narrow. More people need that, not only for physical transformation, but your mental health. As Jodi pointed out, when people understand your journey as to why you're not drinking, why you wake up at 3 a.m, why you mind your calories, it's encouraging because you're not there by yourself. And so I can imagine that in your ministry or your fitness thing, that people can relate to you because what they're going through, you've overcome. And so what do you tell somebody who may be in the throes of this right now and doesn't see a way out?
I just love what you say there about the community element of it. It's so true. And I'm just thinking of the dying on the floor after a workout. It's true. You're surrounded by people who are not going to judge you for literally just trying to improve, your health and fitness. It's a crazy world we live in. For someone who is, do you mean someone who is looking to start to make the change?
Yes. If you were talking to yourself while you were still not making the change.
Yeah, so I feel that I would always encourage leaning into fitness in some degree. Just get out and start moving your body again. What we call it the foundations, and it's fasting, whole foods, and movement. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just fast for at least 12 hours. So your eating window is shorter than your non-eating window. Track that fast with intention, making sure you're actually timing that fast. And when you break that fast, you tell yourself that's a win. You break that fast with whole foods. Processed food, obviously there's a lot of relationship between gut health and mental health. Make sure you're eating good, wholesome food. And then move your body, and that can be in any capacity. I started running because I had no money for the gym. I started running in whatever trainers I had. But that sparked something. It was literally all I was doing, fasting, whole foods, movement. People get so worried about what they have to do or overcomplicate it in their head. They end up not getting started at all. But if you start with fasting, whole foods, movement, and start today, not next week, not at the end of the month, just start the process today. In a year's time, you can be a completely different person. I'm not even 4 years into my journey, and where I am now in my life, that wasn't even a dream in July 2021. This wasn't even something that I considered possible. But it all started from that process of taking action, small, consistent steps forward.
Old Chinese proverb says, the longest journey begins with one single step.
Absolutely.
So where can people contact you if you work with clients all over the world? What's the best way to reach you, and where are you on social media?
On my Instagram page at Willers Fitness, if you just drop me a message there, always get back to everyone. We have a website as well, willersfitness.co.uk, and we've also started a new platform with females only. So for females going through similar struggles to myself, working with two females that have been through my program over the past 2 years. Sonia, 52 years old, had the most incredible transformation. And Sammy as well, who is single parent, 2 kids, business owner, also gone through her own incredible transformation. We're now starting out, and it's called Pow Her Full.
Paul, repeat
that.
I
did see that on your Instagram recently. I do follow you.
Here's a fun question that I got from ChatGPT. If you can train any one celebrity, who would it be?
Alive or dead?
Oh,
Hard to train somebody that's dead, Jodi.
that's such a tough question. Do you know what? I'm a big hip hop fan. I love hip hop.
Okay.
You know, I've been ever since I was younger. I've always seen Redman recently. Don't know if you know of Redman.
yes.
So he's a skydiver now. Actual skydiver.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
He's like a licensed skydiver, and I was watching all his videos the other week. So maybe I'd like to hit the gym with him and maybe go skydiving after that. I thought that'd be quite cool.
Hey, have you skydived before?
I was recently in Dubai, and my friend was doing the course to do it. It looked absolutely mental. He was trying to get me to it. Maybe one day. Have you done it? It looks...
I have. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did it in the same place, just years apart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Equal to each other.
We didn't even know each other. At the time, I was dating my wife, and she said, yeah, get it over with because I don't want to be a widow. So I had to do it before I got married.
You did it in the same place before you knew each other?
Yes, same place.
Wow.
Small world. I used to live in her area, in that tri-state area, but now I'm in Oklahoma after 20 years in Texas. Your story's amazing because I've seen the ravages of drugs on people. Many people don't recover. I'm a Celtics fan, and the first time I was only 13 years old in 1986 when we got a great player named Len Bias. People said he would have been better than Michael Jordan. That's how good this guy was. On the night he got drafted, he celebrated for the first time ever with a line of cocaine. It killed him. Right? And so you've had this second chance at life, and I'm thrilled that you're helping other people get out of that because it's devastating, and fitness, goes a long way to do that. You mentioned Whole Foods. Tell us about how you eat, because I'm big into Whole Foods myself.
It differs with the season. I'm trying to lose a little bit of body fat, so maybe the foods may change, but Whole Foods, single products ingredients. I try and start my day with proteins and fats, try and limit my carbohydrate intake first thing. Steak, beef, eggs, maybe some lower glycemic fruit, blueberries, something like that. Usually always eggs anyway. I don't eat small and often, probably eat 3 to 4 times a day maximum, especially because I'm always fasting. Not to 16 hours, but maybe around 14 hours. I'll probably break my fast around 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I might have some proteins again, chicken, fish, classic rice or potatoes, always vegetables. And then something very similar throughout the evening as well. Nothing too exciting there. What I like to do is make sure that 1, sustains my energy, 2, that it's not processed food, and 3, that it supports my gut health as well. I had very bad acid reflux when I was the DJ from all the drinking. So I was really cautious about what I was eating. I found with Whole Foods, it's so much easier to understand what is working for your body or not, because there's only 1 ingredient in that product. If you're eating a product that has 20 ingredients in, how do you know what ingredient from that product is giving you the gut reaction? I like to have a sort of 80-20 split because I still enjoy processed food. I travel quite a lot, so I like to eat foods when I'm out. I'm a married man, and my wife, she likes to eat out, and we like to eat together, especially because we don't drink. Eating is a good pleasure. So I think it's about finding that balance. But the majority of the time is always heavily focused on Whole Foods.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I like that you mentioned the 80-20. Anybody who tries to be 100% perfect is eventually going to fall off the rails. And especially I noticed with people who constantly crave variety, That's not sustainable. We all have our staples that we eat throughout the week. You can add different things, but when people are hyper focused on, oh, I need a new dish every day, that's not long-term sustainable. Jodi, wrap us up here. Whatever last question you have.
Say somebody is listening to your story and they are thinking about reaching out to you, but maybe they're feeling hopeless, or maybe they feel like they don't deserve to make this change. Could you leave them with a word of advice?
Yeah, absolutely. Never, ever give up on yourself. If you give up, then nothing is going to change. If you keep chipping away, if something doesn't work, don't think that's the be all and end all. Just try something new until that one thing does work for you, because eventually it will. But Willer's Fitness is not for everyone, but it is an option for someone who maybe has tried everything else. There's so many different options for everyone that there is something out there for you.
Thank you. Give the people the quickest way to contact you one last time.
Drop me a quick DM on Instagram at Willer's Fitness, and I'll reply to every message.
All right. Thank you, Sean, for your inspiring testimony. Until next time on the Mindful Muscle Podcast, be blessed.